Good evening, I'm Richard Quest. Quest means business. This is CNN. If you want to be successful, we're now going to introduce you to two people that you really ought to meet. The first, quite literally, started with nothing, and now is a huge success here and a colourful character in the local community. He told me of his difficult personal history, the overcoming of adversity which made him probably millions in business. I'm going to introduce you to Jamil Wafa. He is the creator and the principal holder of the Unitag business. He was an orphan, a refugee, a child without a home. For Jamil Wafa, the beginnings of life were hard.
It was all wrong at the start. I lost my father when I was 6 years old. I lost my mother when I was 9 years old. At the age of 16 and a half, like many Palestinians, we were thrown out of the country. And not only without a home, but without passport.
With work and a bit of luck, he ended up in a career with the old British airline BOAC, British Overseas Airways Corporation. And for years, Jamil Wafa was Mr. Aviation of the Gulf.
Those were truly the grand days. And I can see now, the modern aeroplanes almost repeating what the luxury of travel used to be then.
What was it like in those days, travel? I mean, did women wear big hats and men wore a tie?
Indeed, they were not even, passengers were not allowed to go improperly dressed on the aircraft. You cannot wear desert shoes. You had to wear a suit, and passengers were immaculately dressed, shaven. Really, it was fun to see them. Even the crew were well dressed. The captain was not allowed to make announcement. Instead, we used to have a chart, and it was passed from one row to another. Everything was quiet, and the captain used to come with white gloves to talk to passengers. It was a real pleasure traveling those days.
After BOAC, he started his own travel agency in Bahrain in the 1970s, where he thrived. Aviation and catering businesses came next, and through his company Unitag, he has followed the fortunes of Bahrain.
You can see it's all water, it's a reclaimed land.
So there was very...
Absolutely. That was Bahrain. Look at the old Delman Hotel, and it's all water.
For the Palestinian refugee, this was the perfect place upon which to make his mark.
With my passion for airline, I took the general agency of UTA, which is an independent French airline. Then I traveled to New York to bring in Pan Am's first ever non-stop between the United States and Bahrain, or the Middle East. And then British Caledonians, Cathay Pacific, and Philippine Airlines, etc., etc.
So you've seen huge amounts of change in this part?
Indeed, yes, indeed. At the time, BOAC and British Overseas and Qantas were the only international carriers.
Now 78 years old, and Jamil reflects on how his company and this country became what they are today.
The real commercial boom started here in 77, 78. Before that, it was a passive sort of attitude in town.
What's the trick of the trade to being successful as you have been?
In my case, because I was deprived from a number of things in life. And I wanted to really prove to myself and to whoever trusted me that I'm worthy of that trust. I had to work harder, possibly, than others to achieve what I achieved.
A privilege and an honor it was to meet Jamil Wafa and hear his stories of success. Just as much of a privilege and an honor it is now to talk to another leading Bahraini, a lady who joins me from Washington, who's just received